Hello everyone, I am Dr. Priti Kholila Raskha. Welcome you to today's lecture on urban heritage and cultural landscape. I'm delighted to guide you through the concepts, evolution, significance, challenges and management approaches related to urban heritage, which is one of the most dynamic areas of heritage studies. Cities are living archives. They hold layers of history, culture, memory, architecture, and social practices. Urban heritage is not limited to old monuments alone. It includes streets, markets, neighborhoods, cultural expressions, rituals, industrial remains, and even intangible heritage. Similarly, cultural landscapes reflect the dynamic interaction between human societies and their environment. When we look at cities through this lens, we understand them as constantly evolving landscapes shaped by cultural values, economic forces, and community practices. Today, in this session, we'll explore how these two concepts, urban heritage and cultural landscape, interact and how they contribute to preserving the identity of our cities. Now, what is urban heritage? Urban heritage refers to the built environment, cultural practices, and historical layers that form the identity of a city. It includes historic quarters, religions, civic and residential buildings, streetcapes and marketplaces, industrial heritage, urban parks, water bodies, and public spaces, living cultural practices, social relationships embedded in the city. UNESCO's recommendation on Historic Urban Landscape 2011, also called HUL, broadened the scope of urban heritage to include not only physical fabric but also social and cultural processes. Urban heritage is therefore living, dynamic, and multifunctional, constantly adapting to modern pressures. Now, what is cultural landscape? The term cultural landscapes refer to the landscapes that have been shaped by human interaction with nature over time. The idea emerged strongly to the works of Karl Schwarz, who described landscape as a result of cultural forces acting upon the natural environment. UNESCO classifies cultural landscapes into three types. 1. Designed landscapes, such as Mughal gardens, parks, planned campuses. Secondly, organically evolved landscapes, that the settlements that grow over time, like medieval quarters. Then third, associative cultural landscapes. These are landscapes with spiritual, cultural, or symbolic meaning. For example, river fronts, sacred hills, etc. In an urban context, these landscapes include riverbanks, neighborhoods, industrial areas, transportation routes, and even evolving informal settlements. Now, how cities became cultural landscapes? Every city is essentially a cultural landscape. Why? Cities evolved through history, absorbing multiple influences. The built environment reflects the social structure and cultural values. Urban spaces are shaped by economic, political, and religious forces. Even everyday practices, festivals, foodway, crafts also contribute to the cultural landscape. For example, Kolkata's colonial architecture, tram lines, and markets form a hybrid landscape. Lucknow's Nawabi heritage blends with modern structure. Guwahati's riverfront, temples, and expanding city core form an evolving cultural landscape. Thus, the spirit of the place becomes central to understanding urban landscapes. Now, what are the components of urban cultural landscape? When analyzing an urban cultural landscape, we usually consider historical layers, that is, periods of construction, political changes, etc. Then architectural character, styles, material forms, etc. Then natural features, rivers, hills, gardens, all these are. Then social practices, festivals, trade activities, and community life. Then economic functions, markets, industries, all these are. Then spatial organizations, streets, public spaces, neighborhood patterns, all these are included. Then intangible values, stories, memories, and identity. Understanding these components helps planners and heritage managers develop comprehensive conservation strategies. Now, why urban heritage matters? Urban heritage matters because it's an identity and continuity. Heritage provides a sense of belonging and continuity for communities by connecting people to their shared past and collective identity. It helps individuals understand their roots, values, and traditions, strengthening social cohesion. Through the preservation of heritage, communities maintain cultural continuity while passing knowledge and memories to future generations. Then, cultural diversity. Historic cities often represent layers of cultural interactions formed over centuries of social, political, and economic exchanges. Different architectural styles, traditions, and urban layouts reflect the influence of diverse communities and civilizations. These layers make historic cities living records of cultural existence and transformations. Social cohesion. Social cohesion is strengthened when shared spaces and common traditions encourage regular interaction among community members. Such spaces promote mutual understanding, trust, and a sense of collective responsibility. Through shared practices and experiences, communities develop stronger bonds and social harmony among them. Then, economic development. Economic development is supported through heritage tourism, creative industries, and the adaptive reuse of historical structures. These activities generate employment opportunity for local communities and promote sustainable livelihoods. By valuing cultural assets, heritage-based developments also stimulate local economies while preserving cultural identity. Then sustainability. Reusing buildings reduces environmental impact. Sustainability is promoted through the reuse of existing buildings, which conserves resources and minimize waste. Adaptive reuse reduces the environmental impact associated with new construction and demolition. In this way, heritage conservation supports environmentally responsible development. Now, educational value. Urban heritage serves as a valuable learning resource by preserving historical experiences and cultural knowledge. It helps future generations to understand the evolution of cities, societies, and traditions. Through urban heritage, lessons from the past inform more informed and sustainable futures. Now we shall discuss the challenges to urban heritage. There are several forces that are continuously challenging the existence of urban heritage. In order to create a sustainable urban heritage, the planners need continuous upgradation of approaches. Now we shall discuss various urban heritage challenges. Growth of urbanization, which is one of the most important challenges to the urban heritage. The growth of urbanization itself considered as a challenge to the urban heritage as it put more pressure on the existing facilities and infrastructures due to pressure of population and demand for their needs. It affects the land use pattern. It exploits the natural and other resources of an expanding many urban heritage. Economic pressures often lead to people to eliminate the older housing, that is heritage, stock and bring the new one. Secondly, urban heritage and climate. The 22nd report of World Heritage published by UNESCO World Heritage Center in 2007 categorically emphasized that World Heritage cultural sites are also exposed to climate threat. In the following words, as ancient buildings are designed for a specific local climate, the migration of pests can have adverse impacts on the conservation and built heritage. Increasing sea level threatens many coastal sites, and the conditions for conservation of archaeological evidence may be degraded in context of increasing soil temperature, etc. But aside from these physical threats, climate change will impact on social and cultural aspects, with communities changing the way they live, work, worship, and socialize in buildings, sites, and landscapes, possibly migrating and abandoning their built heritage. Urban heritage and industrialization, which is also considered as one of the most challenging aspects of urban heritage. Industrialization provides new opportunity for employment, and hence massive migration occurs to urban areas that put tremendous pressure on the existing urban infrastructures. This often creates problems to the heritage sites, as the built heritage which were of pre-industrialized era were not valued in the new context. Most of the built heritage in the pre-industrialized era have different utilities and values during that time of historical phenomena. There is a need for inventing the value in modern context, while the identification of heritage can be inherently subjective. Classification of the degree of cultural significance introduces an additional degree of subjectivity, thus making the sense of become difficult. Then urban heritage and modernization. The negative transformations are mainly the outcomes of such interactive factors as modernization or globalization and post-globalization, even increasing population, high-speed economic growth, rapid urbanization, and commercial development, gigantic construction projects, environmental pollution, non-cultural based and non-eco based tourism, cultural violations and abuses, etc. In parallel to the Environmental Impact Assessment, that is EIA, Cultural Impact Assessment as proposed by current conservation authorities should be a significant measure to evaluate the impacts of any gigantic construction projects, especially dam and expressway constructions, which generally cause serious damages over vast regions of cultural landscapes, mostly embedded with Asia's rich historic properties. The promotion of cultural-based tourism should also take into consideration the impacts of a large number of tourists that are beyond the carrying capacity of the cultural setting. Bangkok's Grand Palace exhibits traces of deterioration or degradation along the cultural route of visitors management. India's splendid Taj Mahal faces similar threats over the site of the masterpiece of Mughal architecture. It should be stressed that adequate and suitable management could only reduce but not significantly minimize the valuable impacts of all the external forces. Now we shall discuss the conservation and preservation of urban heritage. Conservation. This is a continuous process. For this, the heritage sites, that is the geocultural region of a site, need to be clearly defined so that the conservation process becomes smoother and efficient. This is important as there are various factors that directly affects the conservation process itself, that is the rapid urbanization. Then preservation. This is a part of the conservation process which ensures the maintenance of existing state while retarding further deterioration. Then restoration. This is often carried out in case of deterioration of the condition. This is done with all care so that the original conditions are achieved. Then adaptive reuse. This is often very important aspect of heritage planning. This makes the heritage more productive and it provides productive use and making it more contemporary. This enables the heritage to become socially and economically more sustainable. Then rehabilitation. Rehabilitation of urban heritage is another sustainable method. However, it is a very complex use that brings political, economic, cultural and social consideration. This is the most important issues as this is the decision making body for policy and planning. The real challenge is related to the mobilization of political support towards conservation and rehabilitation of urban heritage. This can of course include the participation of the stakeholders. Who are stakeholders? Such as the people living in the place, the community. Then cultural aspects related to the consideration of the value and contribution of the urban heritage, especially the historic housing areas and monuments to the extension of indigenous cultural traditions and forms. Now, let me explain urban heritage policies. What are urban heritage policies? Urban heritage policies, which are one of the most important aspects of conservation and preservation of urban heritage. Urban heritage policies today are a complex interplay of political, economic, cultural and social factors. However, two approaches which can help the policies to provide meaningful solution to heritage issues are one, the participatory urban heritage, and the second one is effective knowledge management. Now we shall discuss the participatory urban heritage. The importance and sustainability of urban heritage depends upon the participation of people, that is the community, about the value of urban heritage. The sustainability of the heritage also mainly depends upon the perception of the values by the citizens and the new generation that constitute mainly students. Various techniques are followed in various countries, often to create public awareness through education, awareness, cultural programs, or linking it with the religious and other practices. The curriculum of the educational programs promote student understanding of the different considerations and issues of concern of different stakeholders on heritage conservation and through students' participation in social affairs and the sense of responsibility. Then second one is knowledge management and urban heritage. Scientific understanding of traditional materials and assemblies in the foundation of sustainable management of any issue, including urban heritage. One, the digitalization. Digitalization is one of the recent phenomena to give wide publicity as well as creating a knowledge base for the urban heritage sites. There are both long-term as well as short-term benefits of using digital techniques. Advances in information and technologies have led to a growth in virtual, that is the digital, recording as another means of conserving the past for future generations. This helps in promoting the heritage in a great way. This especially helps those heritage sites which does not get proper attention from the authorities and have not good access. Digitalized technologies is affordable in terms of cost and help in recording the heritage for future generations that it refers to as by ways of heritage, that is the plans and construction for future generation techniques, photographs, and particularly the oral histories of the people that were involved in this project. Storage and dissemination of heritage information through audio and video files with all interactive technologies. These virtual recording technologies provide a number of marketing opportunities to increase the value and to reduce the cost of conservation. Though this is not a substitute to the physical conservation, this can be adopted as a complementary strategy to promote the value of urban heritage. Then heritage tourism, cultural tourism is growing faster than most other tourism segments and at a higher rate than a higher tourism worldwide. Tourism is promoted systematically to provide economic incentive for its survival. The conservation and preservation of the built heritage needs a continuous support and resources. Tourism can help to enhance the quality to great extent. Tourism often helps in providing employability to local people as well as providing value to many cultural artifacts. However, tourism market is highly competitive and not all historical heritage places are viable for commercial tourism. Often the other infrastructural facilities such as good transport, knowledge management such as interpretation or guide facilities, hospitalities are required to promote the urban tourism to great extent. Now we shall going to conclude this session. Urban heritage and cultural landscapes go beyond the mere conservation of historic structures. They embody the living cultural fabric and collective memory of cities. They reflect the interaction between people, their environment, and the built surroundings, shaped by social practices, beliefs, economic activities, and historical experiences over time. By preserving these layers of meaning, urban heritage helps communities understand their identity, appreciate continuity and change, and recognize how societies evolve in response to cultural, political, and environmental influences. With thoughtful planning, community participation, and sustainable policies, our historic cities can continue to thrive without losing their character. Thank you for joining this lecture. In the next session, we will discuss adaptive reuse and tourism. Thank you.